Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Between the Lines. I'm Nishant, as always, and I'm joined by my two co-hosts. We got Dan and Jad. How you guys doing today?
Good. How are you?
What A2, baby.
Doing pretty good. We got a special NBA episode for you guys today. I'll kick it over to Dan. He'll get us started. Right to you, Dan. Let's get it.
Yeah, so we're going to get things started here with just a nice, simple icebreaker. We're going to start things off with the question that is pretty popular. If you could start your franchise today with any one NBA player, who would it be? I'll start with you, Jad. Who would that be?
See, I was thinking that the obvious answers, the Lukas of the world, the Giannis's.
Mm-hmm.
But as we've seen this season, I've got it out of the park answer here, and I'm going to go with that boy, Shavonte Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, after watching that half-court shot against the Lakers, although I don't want this team winning too many games, just wow, man. He's him, as he said. So, I mean, yeah, Luka and Giannis are the right answer, but give my boy Shea some props.
So if you can't already tell, Jad is an Oklahoma City Thunder fan. But we'll head over to you, Nish. Who would you start your franchise with if you could pick one NBA player?
Yeah, you see, I like the Luka, the Giannis, but I'm gonna go with someone who's young. I think he's the most fun player in the league. That's Ja Morant. And I think I got him and a little bit sneak peek, but he's my most improved player too, as of right now. And if you look back at like the five last guys, you got like Giannis, Oladipo, Siakam, Ingram. I think Morant sort of exceeded what they've done when they broke out. He's only 22. He hasn't been an all-star yet, but he's definitely going to be one this year. He's electric, makes the highlight plays. The Grizzlies are nice this year, and he's the star of that team. If I could start a franchise, I'd want that guy. He brings in the ticket sales. People are getting those jerseys, and he's going to fill stadiums. I want that guy.
I like that.
I like that pick a lot, too. I think he's a pretty good leader so far. I think he's been a good player, and I think has a lot of potential to grow into. You know, when this question's asked, we've gone on and had debates about this. I think I'm going to go with the boring pick and just go with a Luka Doncic. It's boring again. I don't hate a Nikola Jokic either. Again, another guy who's been a good leader, who's had success already. I think with Luka, he hasn't really done too much, but I think that talent just cannot go to waste. That talent is too good to pass up. And when you have what I would call a generational player in Luka Doncic, you have to take that.
Yeah. Speaking of, like you said, Jokic, you guys see his little skirmish with Markieff Morris, or was it Marcus or Markieff? I don't know.
It was Markieff.
Yeah, Markieff.
Yep.
I mean,
a little bit.
I've got to say, I saw a TikTok today of all Jokic's little fights, and I love it. I mean, I like that old school fighting basketball. I know you boys know I've had my fair share of scuffles in my day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm into that.
But I've seen his brothers are like, they all like stick up for him. So it's so cool. Like he has two brothers that are always like sitting on the sidelines. They're all like tatted up. They got like all his gear on and whatever. Like I saw like when he got into a fight, like it was like last season, they like went on the court.
I love it, man.
I was like, bro, what? That's crazy.
Yeah. So speaking of sort of that current NBA news, we want to just recap the first couple weeks of the NBA season. I know Jad and Nishant, you guys have both been talking about, sort of some teams that have been either exceeding or tanking your expectations. We'll start with you, Jad. What team has been either exceeding or going below your expectations for that team heading into the season?
All right, so taking a look at these standings, I know we were talking about the Wizards being just a shock to everyone. Maybe the Warriors kind of exceeding expectations, but I'm gonna go pick and that boy Ja Morant. I mean, his explosion statistically this year is not something too shocking, but the way it's kind of had team success alongside it is what I was actually surprised by. You don't usually see the stats blow up and the team also go along with it. So I think that just shows that he's not just I'm a Thunder fan, but he's not just a Russell Westbrook, one could say. So I'm gonna go with the Grizzlies.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
How about you, Nish?
Yeah. The Grizzlies. I'll just touch on Jazz. They're not having like the best season like record wise, but you can definitely tell that they're growing as a team. They're really young. They're sort of meshing together, sort of finding the right pieces. Coach is getting them right. I agree, but with my surprise team, I'm gonna stick with my team. I like the Wizards. We're 8-3. We just got a big win today to go 9-3, but I think this team has I came into this year not expecting a lot after trading away Russ for some pieces that I think would help for the future. I didn't think we'd start out 9-3 when we're a month into the season. And I think they've just been really good, and I think a lot of that comes down to the defensive side. Montrezl Harrell has been a great addition. I love seeing him on the court. Daniel Gafford has been really good. Even KCP has done really good this year. They haven't allowed a lot of teams to shoot well from three, and they're actually second in opponent 3-point percentage to the Jazz. And I've just been really surprised at how far this team has come since last year. Beal's sort of stepped back. He hasn't taken like that 30-point per game route that he did last year, but he's still putting up like 24, 26 points per game. So I think they're really surprising so far this
Yeah,
year.
if I could touch on that, I thinking about this team, I haven't watched, not gonna lie, I haven't watched too many Wizards games as they are the Wizards, but I mean, it just seems like they're having fun. Like compared to the Lakers, I mean, I think such a big factor in basketball especially is the chemistry. And I think what's been the massive problem for the Lakers is that just isn't there. Like it seems like these Wizards like each other. I mean, a
Yeah,
bunch of these players have been counted out
yeah,
once and again throughout their career. So I
yeah.
think the Lakers, yeah,
Wes Unseld's got them right. He's
Mhm.
a pretty fairly young guy compared to most of the coaches in the NBA. He's gotten the
next player.
guys like, yeah, what's it called? Got a lot of young guys: Hachimura, Kispert, Daniel Gafford, as I said, and yeah, even Kuzma. I forgot about Kuzma. He's done really good too. But I'm just excited to see if this team can make the playoffs, and even if they can make a run, it'll be fun to watch.
Okay. So I'm going to stick with that trend. I'm going to pick my team. I'm going to go with the 76ers. Now, obviously, heading into the season, all the talk was about Ben Simmons, that sort of whole dilemma, I guess one could say. But that's still on the table. But I think the Sixers, shorthanded and everything, Embiid has not been playing well. But the supporting cast has really stepped up. Georges Niang, Seth Curry, Matisse Thybulle, Tyrese Maxey. And even recently, they just played the Bucks and the Knicks, and they lost both games, but they did it playing with end of the bench guys because pretty much their whole starting lineup and a lot of their bench has kind of been riddled because of like COVID. Guys are out because of that. So I've just been really impressed with how the Sixers have played despite the Ben Simmons distraction and despite Embiid not playing well and despite, a lot of these key pieces being out. They're 8-4 right now.
Yeah, that's honestly like pretty good from like what you just said. They're playing a lot of end of bench guys, and they're still 8-4. But I think a couple of those role players like Korkmaz, Milton, Thibault, even Thibault's a starter, but he's still like a solid role player. I think they've taken a decent step and gotten them to a solid point where they can compete in the East still.
Yeah, they're stepping up big time. So
Yeah.
moving on to our award predictions, we're going to start with the big one, MVP. Jad, who do you have for MVP?
Honestly, to be honest, I'm gonna go Curry here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm being a Russ fan. I throughout my career as an NBA fan, I was all Russ over Curry, but what he's done with this team without Clay, and this team is not that much different than their team in the past 2 years. What he's done, just like transforming the culture back to those fun Warriors days. I think it's got to go to Steph.
Yep. Michelle, how about
Yeah,
you?
he just put up like 50 and 12, right? A
50
couple
and
days
10.
ago.
Or yeah.
50
Yeah.
and 10. He had a
7
double-double.
rebounds too.
Yeah, crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm just gonna go with a simple pick, and I think it's Giannis. I think he'll still put up really big numbers. I get like the voter fatigue thing, but he's still in the middle of his prime. Got consistent production. He's got a good team around him. They have been struggling a little bit, but
They're
I
six
I
and
also
six.
yeah I really like the Curry pick. I could also see like if the Heat take a really big step. I like Jimmy Butler. He's like a dark horse. But I think right now I'd go Giannis as my pick, but I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't him. That's just my favorite.
I don't hate that. The thing with Giannis, and obviously it's still extremely early in the season. Bucks are 6-6 right now. Warriors are 9-1, and I think that's really
Yeah.
the differentiator for me. I'm gonna go Curry as well. When Steph Curry is playing well, he's the best player in the world. And now that he has that supporting cast back a little bit, I think it's been interesting to see like even guys like Gary Payton II kind of stepping up and playing a role.
Yeah.
But Warriors now are at the top of their conference. Steph Curry's playing great. And that's the recipe for an MVP. So I'm going to go Steph Curry here.
Yeah,
like
shoot
that.
me, but I'd say Curry at his best, the best player of all time. But
All
I
time.
don't know
That's
about that.
pushing it.
But like
I'm
talking about
most
Gary,
unguardable player of all time.
Unguardable, maybe. Yeah.
talking about Gary Payton II. I like to call him Mittens. Jad knows a thing or two about Mittens, but
I
Gary
like this
Payton
amendment.
II, son of the glove, Gary Payton.
Yep.
Love that.
Going back to Nish's pick. With Giannis, I feel like with this team, it's more they're kind of past that regular season getting 60 wins. I feel like after that championship, they're moving into championship mode where they're just kind of trying to collect their jewelry. We've seen it with LeBron for the past 45 years. Like the regular season only matters so much, and that's kind of taking a step back. That's kind of what's the problem has been the problem for the NBA. Like these games don't matter in the grand scheme of things on who ends up winning the championship.
Yeah.
Like if anything, playing all these minutes per game ends up hurting your team. So that's my rebuttal to that Giannis pick.
I can definitely see that. But let's move on to our next award. What we got next?
So next, we're going to go to Defensive Player of the Year. What do you think for that, Jad?
Shoot, I'm gonna go Bam here. I think this year he's gonna take that stride to become the Heat's best player. I think what his versatility that he brings to the game. This was actually my pick going into the year, so I love that versatility. I love his mindset. I love that blocking against Tatum in the playoffs. I'm gonna go Giannis here or Bam.
I like the Bam pick too. Defensive versatility is definitely something that I really value. A lot of people sort of, when they're picking this award, they like a lot of rim protection and inside defense. I like that defensive versatility. That's why I really like Ben Simmons last year winning the award, just because he's a guy that can guard 1 to 5. So I like that Bam pick. I would agree with that. But what do you think, Deshaun?
I'm gonna go with someone who's been in the running for the past 5 years, Rudy Gobert, who's won 3 times already. But I think he's the best big man defender in the NBA right now. I think he even though he can't guard 1 through 5 like Bam can, he has a much more presence in the paint than Bam does. So I'll go Rudy Gobert.
So Deshaun will take the boring pick. Speaking of guys that haven't really been boring so far, what do we think about Rookie of the Year? I'll start with you, Jad.
I mean, not to bring Mac Jones kind of mentality back in this, but I mean Josh Kiddey, man. Not just his TikTok is what makes me happy, but I mean he's playing like a 35-year vet out there. It's just with Giddey, it's the stats don't jump off the page because the stun team's terrible, so no one can make his assists actually count. But his awareness on the court and just how he knows where to be is something that just does not pop out on the scoreboard or on the box score. And I mean that's something we've been missing in Oklahoma for how many years now. So watching him next to Shea just gives me goosebumps, man. So I'm gonna go with my guy Josh.
He is a good passer. He does have really good vision, and that was something I noticed coming out of the draft. Yeah.
I like Josh Giddey. He's nice, but I'm gonna go Evan. I like Evan Mobley.
Mobley.
Yeah, I like him. I think he could have gone number 1 to Detroit, honestly, but it was just a toss up between him and Cunningham.
Yeah, I actually really like that pick. My comp for him was kind of Chris Bosh going out of the draft, but what he's been able to do defensively is legitimate Kevin Garnett Defensive Player of the Year kind of skill set.
No doubt. He has a combination of like physical tools to make him like a super high long-term ceiling player. And I think he may not be like the strongest guy, like a Shaquille O'Neal, but he has a ton of years ahead of him to add strength. And he's a pretty good mid-range shooter. He's got that shot down. He's a great post scorer too, and a really good defender. I like that pick.
My comparison for Mobley coming into the draft was Bam Adebayo, and I think so far he's kind of lived up to that. Decent mid-range shooter, decent post game, and a good defender. Pretty versatile too.
Yeah.
So
I like that pick.
But the reason I mentioned kind of a fun player to watch is because I would go with that guy Jalen Green. So Jalen Green is just electrifying. I think he's going to be a pretty inefficient scorer for Houston just because he's going to be the number 1 option. He's going to be taking really all the shots in Houston. So I think that's going to lead to some inefficiencies. But I think he's going to average a lot of points, and I think he's going to be a fun player to watch. 2nd overall pick, I think he's going to end up winning it.
See, the problem there is I know this doesn't matter for Rookie of the Year, but when you're given a rookie, especially like Josh Green, Jalen Green,
Jalen Green.
that much leeway in the offense, we'll create some kind of hardened bad habits. I mean, these are the crucial years in their career where they gotta like staple in those good basketball ideals, and him just having the keys to the offense instantly and leeway to do literally whatever he wants on the court. I think it's gonna turn out good for us as fans to watch some cool stuff go down. But I think this is just another hardened situation that's not going to result in any championship.
Yeah, but on the flip side, you got a guy like Cade Cunningham, who's the number 1 overall pick, and you would assume that he's like the number 1 in that system, right? He really hasn't. He's sort of stepped back, let other guys take the majority of shots. He's been putting up shots, but he's not doing as much volume as Jalen Green is doing. I think there's both sides to that argument that you could say, Chad.
It's different players, man.
They are different players, and I think to that point, Jalen Green was drafted to be that more pure scorer. I think Cade Cunningham's more of a playmaker than Green is, as far as passing the ball, as far as defending. Jalen Green is a pure scorer, and I think that's what he's doing. He's
valid.
A volume shooter. He's going to take a lot of shots, going to be a little bit like Harden. I think that's kind of why they drafted him, to be that replacement. And, yeah, I don't think that the whole James Harden ISO every play, I don't think that's a recipe for success either. But I think Jalen Green getting the keys to the offense is exactly what Houston wants, because they drafted him to be that guy.
See, but like looking at NBA history, like I can't think of one person that's just been a ball dominant, give me the ball and I'll get a bucket scorer. That's been the best player on a championship team. Like there's always guys that can move the ball that are winning the championships, or they have a guy next to them that can move the ball. Like it's being that guy that isn't a 6-man is just not winning basketball.
Yeah, but the thing is, Houston's not winning a championship this year.
We're talking about Rookie of the Year. We're talking about Rookie of the Year. We're not talking about championship.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so Jalen Green's not going to win them a championship in 2 to 3, even 5 years.
I don't think Jalen Green will ever win the championship. Moving back to the Rookie of the Year, I really don't like Jalen Green I don't like what they're doing with him, to be honest. But
so what would you like change?
I don't think giving the keys to the whole offense and all this leeway to a rookie is how you build a successful franchise. From like they're building from the ground up at this point, and I don't think letting him grow all these bad habits of just shooting what he wants will do any good for them. Like not to bring the Thunder back into it, but what the Clippers did with Shea when they had that Clippers team that almost beat the Warriors in the first round, I think that's what made him such a good player. Because nowadays, Shea's getting like 8 for 11 from the fields, like 2 turnovers with 7 assists. Like, just the discipline that he brings and the efficiency, I think will go such a longer way in the future. I mean, that's Rookie of the Year, but
I haven't really been following the Rockets too much. Has John Wall been playing or no?
No.
He hasn't. Okay. So Jad, if you're not giving the keys to Jalen Green, like what do you do? Who are you going to give the ball to? You got Kevin Porter.
Kevin Porter's also there.
But are you gonna say you want to give the keys to Kevin Porter and have him do something? He'll turn into another James Harden.
I don't know why we have to give all 5 keys to one guy. Let's spread the keys around. Maybe 2 to Jalen, maybe 2 to Kevin.
Okay.
And build some good habits in them.
Okay. Yeah, they're just in a bad situation in Houston. So.
Yeah, it's tough, but I think that Jalen Green is a franchise player, and I think that's who they should develop him to be. But moving on to 6-man of the year, who do we have for that? I think this is a pretty interesting one. There's a lot of directions you can go in. Jad, who do you like for the 6-man of the year?
It's got Jordan Clarkson. I mean, the Jazz have not, although the playoff L's are there, I think the Jazz really haven't skipped a beat from last regular season, and I could definitely see Jordan Clarkson coming out with this.
Okay. What about you, Nish?
Going Mr. Bubble Guppy himself, Tyler Hero. He's done great this year as a 6-man. He's really stepped in and been that bench scorer that the Heat desperately need. He's led them in scoring the last, I think, over half their games he's led them in scoring. Him and Jimmy and Bam are a great 3 to have on the court. They're plus minus when all 3 of them on the court is through the roof. And his profile as like a fun scoring guard on like a high quality playoff team it sort of aligns with other like six-man guys that we've seen around the league. Like we saw Lou Will, like Eric Gordon, and as Chad said, Jordan Clarkson. So I think he's sort of like rekindling some of that buzz that he had at the bubble, and I really like that pick. He's only 21 years old, so he's got a ton more years to go, even if he's doesn't turn out to be a six man the rest of his career.
Yeah, I totally agree with that hero pick at this point. I like the Clarkson pick, but I think when you have a young guy like Tyler Hero who is coming off a bit of a sophomore slump, and he's putting up a lot of the bench, I think the voters are really going to like that. So I'm going to go Tyler Hero as well, and he's going to be on a good team then for sure.
Yeah, just gotta hope that he continues it and that the Heat stay healthy and progress well.
Yeah.
The one problem I would have with that pick is I don't know how much Tyler likes that pick. I think we've seen I think he thinks he's that guy and he wants to be that guy. Kind of to bring a weird comment to it. In movies we see actors kind of leave roles because they don't want to be typecasted, so they only play that role for the rest of their career. Like they don't want to only play villains. So kind of connecting it back to Tyler Hero, I don't think Tyler Hero wants to be a six man the rest of his career. And if he ends up winning six man of the year, I think teams are going to just see him as a six man for the rest of his career. So I'm not sure if he keeps playing this well, if he'll morally be okay, just keep coming off the bench. But I mean, as of right now, I think he's a clear pick for that.
Like going off that, I'm not speaking for anyone in the NBA, but if you're like a glorified sixth man, you'll basically be paid as a sixth starter. Like when you look at like Jamal Crawford or like Jordan Clarkson is now going to be a sixth man for the rest of his career, but he's going to get paid like a starter. And honestly, that's honestly pretty solid because you're expected to do. You're not expected to put as much volume as like a starter would be, like a Donovan Mitchell in Utah, but you can come in, put in your 25, like 20 to 20 points, 22 points, and get paid like Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, Dwayne Wade actually. I don't know if you guys heard
like
this. Dwayne Wade said if he came back to the NBA, he'd want to be like Jordan Clarkson, just get in the game and do what you want. Kind of like Jalen Green too, but
yeah, like Jordan Clarkson, he doesn't need to be playing 40 minutes a game, putting up 25, playing good defense too. He just needs to go in there, put up 15 points, play solid minutes, put up a couple three balls, get the Jazz back on track, let Donovan Mitchell sit and rest. It's honestly perfect.
Yeah, fun gig.
Yeah, I think you make an interesting point there, Jad, with Tyler Hero, because he was that dude like in his rookie year, especially in the bubble. But I would say, yeah, he's making a leap this year. It's just a matter, like Nishant said, of him keeping it up, and can the Heat either stay healthy or can they keep up how well they've been playing? So, speaking of that, what about most improved player? This is another award I think we could go in a bunch of different directions. We'll start with you, Jed.
Not to steal anyone's pick here, but I'm going to go Ja. I mean, I think we've touched on it enough. I love the season he's having. I love what the team's been doing around him. So I'm going to go Ja here.
Okay. Nishant, what do you have an idea for?
Yeah, I said it literally in the first 2 minutes. I got Ja. But if I were to pick anyone else, I'd probably go like maybe Shea or Zach LaVine. Okay. Or actually, I'm gonna go with like Miles Bridges. I like that. If I were to go with someone else, it'd be Miles Bridges.
You mentioned that to me. I believe it was you that mentioned that to me. All right, no, it was somebody else that mentioned it. Miles Bridges to me, and they said he was averaging, I think, 24 and 8 at the time, and that caught me off guard.
Yeah, he put up a 30 ball a couple weeks ago too.
Yeah, I mean that really caught me off guard.
Right now?
He's averaging, I think, just under 25, so like 21, I think.
I had no idea.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. So
very subtly putting up good numbers. He's putting up let's see, 22.2 points, 8 rebounds.
Wow, he didn't even start off hot. He's still going. 19, 22, 31, 25.
Shooting 35% from the field too, 45% from the field, or 34 from 3, 45 from the field. It's really good numbers. And a steal and a half. Like, I mean,
yeah, I'm surprised by that.
If I were to go anyone else but Ja, it's Miles Bridges. I don't know about the
pick.
other guys I said.
Miles Bridges.
I really like that.
Okay. I'm going to go. So I don't like picking second-year players for this award. So I would probably go with like a Tyrese Maxey, a guy who obviously he didn't play too much. His minutes were a little bit inconsistent last year on the Sixers, obviously because their team was pretty good. But with Ben Simmons out, Tyrese Maxey steps into the starting role, and he's been pretty good. Last night he dropped 31 points.
Wow.
He dropped 17 in the first quarter alone, and I mean, yeah,
Jesus.
like I said,
Yeah.
he has really taken a step. I think he's been very good as that starting point guard now. He's averaging almost 16 points in 12 games,
Jeez,
about 4
good.
rebounds, little over, almost 5 assists on good efficiency too, almost 50% field goal shooting, over 38% from three. So
Yeah, it's good. Coming out of
good.
Kentucky, he wasn't really that scorer. That's really good to see. I like
Matt,
seeing that.
You didn't trade for Harden because of the guy. So at least Sixers get a W there.
that is true. That is true. We might not talk about that right now, but I would say, yeah, I liked Maxey a lot, kind of coming off the bench as like that 6-man role, spark plug, just playing like 20 minutes off the bench. But I think, yeah, he's shown a lot of potential as a starting point guard. But like I said, I don't like picking those second-year guys. I'm going to go with John Morant as well. I think he's going to take a step and actually become like that superstar this year. We've seen it, I think, a little bit so far this year. He's been obviously good in years past, but I think this year is going to be the year he cements himself as a superstar player.
If I can ask a question here, I think everyone kind of has a different description for what the word superstar means. Like me personally, I think a superstar is you can be the best player on a championship team. But I'm just curious what you guys think a superstar is.
I'd say like a top 15 player in the NBA. Just
I'd
like
probably,
no.
yeah, I would probably say like top 10, maybe even less. Top 10, maybe like top 8. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty selective. Maybe
Like, I wouldn't
Ja
say-
won't be that, but I think when what Jad said is accurate. I think just the
Yeah.
number one player on a good playoff caliber team. I would say
Yeah.
last year in the playoffs, what Trae Young was doing, where
That's
he was
superstar.
beating the Sixers,
Yeah, I like that.
he might not have been a top 8 player in the league.
He was a
When you
superstar.
make the list, but he was a superstar. He was leading his team. He was putting up unreal numbers against a good team, a good defensive team, and he led his team to the conference finals as like a 6 seed. I would say
Yeah, I
that's
like that.
a
I like
superstar
that.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too.
And I think
Agree.
that's what John Morant can be this year.
Yeah, except I think the Grizzlies have the potential to be a top 6 seed, even in that competing Western Conference. I think he has the tools to definitely lead that team to be a top 6 seed.
Western Conference has not been great this year. It's going to be another competitive year, as always.
Yeah,
Lakers are
it'll
6-5 right now.
competitive.
Yeah, Lakers are 6-5. Obviously, it's very
Grizzlies are
early
6-5.
again. Lakers 6-5, Nuggets 6-4, Clippers 6-4, Grizzlies
Hawks are
6-4.
challenged too.
So, I mean, yeah, we'll see. All right, moving on to a more boring award. I guess we'll do Coach of the Year. Who do you got for that, Jed?
I'm gonna go. I can't think of his name right now, but the Wizards coach. What we were
Wes
talking about before.
Unseld.
I think it's got to be. He's a players coach, which is up next in the league, and I'm gonna go him if the Wizards keep up this production. Easy pick.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think coming into
I
the
like that pick.
season, yeah, I like that too. I think coming into the season, I never would have expected the Wizards to be this good. I personally think they'll slow down a little bit. If they can keep it up, I think, yeah, he's that guy. But I would say right now, the Bulls, they're 7-3, improved a lot from last year. I can see them sort of consistently being this good, being, definitely a top 8 team and making the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. So I'm going to go Billy Donovan.
I like that. I'm gonna go with the boring pick and be like Steve Nash, just because the Nets are doing solid. I think they'll probably be like a 1 or 2 seed, maybe at low a 3 seed in the East, but they still got two of like top 10, 15 players in the league right now with Durant and Harden, and Nash he's a pretty good coach. I mean, I wouldn't say he gets carried by them, but I think he'll have it in the bag if the Nets do good.
Yeah, if I could touch back on Danny's point, I definitely do. Like I'd honestly say I'm pretty positive that the Wizards take a step back going later on in the season. So I'm just saying up to this point, it's clearly on sale. But I like that Billy Donovan pick.
Okay. And then moving on to the last thing, championship prediction. Who are the teams that are going to be in it? Which team's going to win it? And in how many games? Jad, what do you think on that?
All right, not to rustle any feathers, but I'm going Lakers. I still got faith. I love me some Russ. I think the regular season, like I touched on a bit before, is a coasting period, especially for these LeBron teams. And I think the big thing about Russ isn't what he'll give you in the playoffs, but what he'll give LeBron and AD. I know that AD he's made of glass, and when he gets a little minor injury, he completely disappears from the game. And I think he'll give LeBron that kind of rest so that LeBron can have that kind of superstar performance in the playoffs, and Russ can take those shots and carry the Lakers to wins when AD and LeBron are out. I mean, we saw it with the Thunder for years. He might not do good with superstars around him, but when he's that guy, he takes over games. So I'm still gonna go Lakers.
And who are they going to be beating?
Um, ah, shoot. I remember my prediction was Heat Lakers, and that Heat pick's looking still pretty solid. So I'd love to see another Heat Lakers rematch.
All right. And what do you think, Deshaun?
Well, as you said, Dan, the Warriors are 9-1 right now, and they're missing Klay Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Just imagine what that team's going to be like when Klay comes back. That's my championship team, and they're going to win it this year. I'm sold on them. I think they're going to beat the Heat. I'd say in like 6 or 7 games. That matchup's going to be great. You'll have Jimmy on Steph. You'll have like PJ Tucker on Klay. It's going to be a great matchup. I think the Warriors have the tools to make it all the way. I think the Heat again can like knock off a team like the Bucks, or the Bucks and Nets are going to go at it. Maybe the winner of that will be tired, and the Heat can have an easy path to the finals. But I got the Warriors this year.
You know what? I'm going to stick with that trend. I'm going to go with the Warriors. I think they're a deep team. And not only that, when you have a guy like Steph Curry playing the way he is, like I mentioned, when he's playing well, he's the best player in the world. And when you have that guy and then you have another guy in Klay Thompson coming back, that's a scary team right there. And on top of that, you have depth. That's the thing in years past with the Warriors. They didn't really have depth. They didn't really have a bench. And they didn't really need it because they had 5 All-Stars starting.
Yeah.
So,
and we're not even talking about one of the best defensive players of our generation, Draymond Green. And even guys like Jordan Poole, Gary Payton II, even Jonathan Kuminga has been putting in some minutes, but I think he'll take a pretty big step as we go along this year. But those guys,
Kuminga and Moody.
Go on.
Kuminga and Moody, yeah. I mean, they drafted them in the top 10. So
Yep, both of them.
If I can touch on that, then add another question at the end. I'm not too sure that both of those rookies end up finishing the season with the Warriors. I definitely could see this being a team that makes some kind of trade at the deadline to kind of facilitate their spot as a true contender. But moving to my question, if Curry ends up winning an MVP and then a finals win with a finals MVP, do you think that would take him over the top to be considered the best point guard of all time?
Yes.
I think it would, yeah.
No doubt about it.
I think now, yeah. I think
Magic,
right now
probably.
you can have the debate, and I think if he does
as of right now, it's Magic. Curry gets one more MVP. He'll be a 3-time MVP, 1-time Finals MVP, 3-time champion, and 4-time.
I think the biggest rebuttal to Curry being MVP right now
is the Finals MVP.
Is the Finals MVP, and then also having an OP team around him. And if he
I
can
don't think that matters.
If he can carry this team, and then end up getting an MVP on top of it, that'd just be huge.
I don't really think the team matters when we're talking about best position, because when you look at like other like top position, like when you look at power forward, you look at like Tim Duncan. He had Manu and Tony Parker all those years. At like Karl Malone, he had Stockton.
But the big thing about LeBron,
even though he didn't win,
he carried his trash team to the finals. That's a massive argument for LeBron. So I think him carrying the team isn't a negative. It's actually a positive. Or him not being able to carry a team isn't a negative, but him being able to carry a team just adds to his case. So that's another thing on top of it.
Yeah, and this team obviously doesn't compare to that 2015 team or even the 2018 team. When we're talking about the Warriors, but Steph is still the best shooter of all time. He's been a great defender this year. Like one part of his game that hasn't been talked about a lot is his defense. He's taken a tremendous step on that side. He's still putting up like 6 to 8 assists per game. He's getting rebounds too. His plus minus is probably one of the best of his career. And that Warriors team would be nothing without him. And when you look at
And
guys that are the best at their position, you have to look at how valuable they are to their team when they're playing.
throw a
And
crazy
Steph,
stat into that. He's averaging 6.6 assists and 6.6 rebounds. So I think Curry's also a dog on the boards, which
Yep.
you don't hear a lot.
Yeah, you love to see that.
His defense has definitely been underrated. And I'm not saying he's a really good defender, but he's definitely not a negative defender like a lot of people think.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And yeah, I think I would have the Warriors winning. I think I'd have them matching up against the Bucks, so the Bucks get to the finals to look to repeat, but just not good enough to beat the Warriors and Steph Curry. I mean, again, Steph Curry, I think, is just the most unguardable player when he's playing well, ever. I would argue ever when he's playing well, a hot Steph Curry is the most unguardable player ever. Just because when you can shoot from the ball from anywhere on the court,
what can you do?
What are you supposed to do? Yeah.
So, and like when I like watch him shoot, it just looks like he's tossing it up there. Like his shooting form is like so like it's just it's like those arcade games.
Mm-hmm.
You're just like it's rapid fire.
I'm sure
like,
you guys aren't gonna remember this, but when the Warriors and the Thunder had that massive rivalry and that regular season game where Curry beat the Thunder on the half court shot, then did his little shimmy. Oh my God, that's
he's
what
got the Warriors. They've got a timeout. They're not going to use it. Curry way downtown, bang. 0.7 was it 0.7 left? 0.7
I remember.
0.9?
I remember where I was watching that game. I remember.
Same.
Oh my God, man!
Watching Curry in his prime is something that we're going to look back on that and be like, that was probably some of the best basketball we've ever watched, because that was the same time that we had LeBron on the Cavs. We had KD and Westbrook still on the same team. We had Kawhi on the Spurs for a little bit.
Bro, Kevin Durant robbed this league of 5 more years of that rivalry. Because then LeBron would have stayed on the Cavs. Kyrie would have stayed. God, man. Those were the good days.
I don't think Kyrie would have stayed, though. He still would have been under LeBron's wing for the rest of his career.
Yeah, that was the whole thing with Kyrie leaving. Because he
wanted
to have his own team.
Winning. He didn't care about winning a championship. He just cared about having his own team.
I don't know. Kyrie's a weirdo. Who knows?
We got to talk about Kyrie. Maybe not today. Maybe next time. But we got to talk about Kyrie, what's happening with him, and what's happening with Ben Simmons. But Ben Simmons is floating under the radar a little bit because the Sixers are winning. And I think I should have mentioned that when I mentioned the Sixers as my surprise team. Because the Sixers are winning, it puts less pressure on Daryl Morey to trade Ben Simmons. If they were losing games and they were tanking and it was just not pretty, all the eyes would be on Daryl Morey. Like, you got to trade this guy. And Morey would panic and maybe he trades him for nothing. But now that the Sixers are winning, I think that gives them a little bit more leverage in being able to trade Ben Simmons and being able to wait for a good Ben Simmons trade.
Yeah, because now they're like, we can win without this guy. Yeah. So what good is he to us?
Yeah, that's pretty big. I didn't think about that. It's also just taking Ben Simmons' value even lower.
You think, though? Because I think, I mean, that is a good point, too, because maybe, now you're seeing the Sixers play so well without him, and it's he really was a problem. He really was holding his team back.
So I see they've been rumored with the Celtics, which would be.
Oh, we got to talk about that.
I saw that. I saw a little jersey swap with Jaylen Brown and Ben Simmons on Instagram.
Absolutely will not get traded for Jaylen Brown.
I can't see that happening. I can't see that happening. But the Celtics have been a little bit disappointing too.
When the Sixers fan can't see Jaylen Brown getting traded, that is just unrealistic. We shouldn't even talk about that.
I'd take Jaylen Brown and call it a day. I'd take Jaylen Brown and give it a call of the day. Jaylen Brown and some roster filler for Ben Simmons, Shake Milton in the first.
I think they would need probably 3 or 2 firsts to get Jaylen Brown off that team.
You think?
Yeah, I don't think that the Celtics should trade Jaylen Brown for Damian Lillard. I think so highly of Jaylen Brown.
Wow. I mean, they're kind of struggling right now. If I were them, I'd trade for a good point guard in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would.
Wait for the offseason. Don't do something stupid.
Man, I don't know. They got to pay Jason Tatum this offseason, right? So
if Jaylen Brown got traded to the Blazers and ended up averaging 28 points per game, which I could definitely see him doing, and just becoming honestly a Kawhi 2.0 kind of player, I think that's gonna look back and the Celtics are just gonna be kicking themselves. And I think they know that. I think it would be not to the extent, but kind of like a Harden and Thunder kind of situation where you're just like, what could have been? Because we know that this fit didn't work, but if we see down the line both these players are averaging 30 points, like Celtics would just kick themselves.
I can see. I think the fit does work though. I just don't think like Brown is playing to his max potential.
Yeah,
But I
honestly,
like the comparison that you make with like a Kawhi or like a James Harden though, because I think with his own team he could be really good. But I like the trade, the Blazers trade with Damian Lillard and Jaylen Brown. I like that for both teams. I think that's the best return that the Blazers could possibly get.
Yeah, that's
Other than maybe Ben, I think Ben Simmons and Jaylen Brown are kind of on that same caliber. Jaylen Brown's a better player, but I think Simmons, as far as potential, is like very valuable. But
I want to take like a couple steps back, like when we were talking about the Celtics, and they've like been struggling. Jaylen Brown's doing like when we're talking about the fit. I think that also sort of has to do with like the coaching stuff that they've had to go through. I didn't really like that the Adoka pick that they or addition that they brought in for their coach. I wasn't a big fan of that. I don't think he's really a player's coach. He didn't really fit in to like that Brad Stevens like coaching mentality sort of thing. And I was sort of surprised by that. And I think that definitely shows with how much they've struggled so far this year. Obviously, they're still like 11 games in, but
yeah,
it just really hasn't been a great fit so far.
Yeah, this Celtics team, man. After watching that scary Terry Celtics, I thought this team, like my mom is probably the most notable bandwagon I know, and I was trying to convince her to be a Celtics fan because she was a Warriors fan. Now she's just one of those. So I was trying to convince her to be a Celtics fan. I was like, these Celtics, I mean, how could they not be a problem for years to come? But they've just, I have no idea. Like, I cannot think of a reason for why this team is not working. And it hasn't been working. Like, I don't know. I can't put I don't know what it is.
it could be the coaching change, just adjusting to that. But I think that is kind of the easy scapegoat for the whole situation.
Yeah, because we thought Brad Stevens was supposed to be the next Pop.
Yeah.
And then he was struggling the last 2 years with the team.
Yeah.
So I really don't know how it is.
Yeah. And I think I would say, I mean, this team, they brought in Al Horford, which I really like that pickup. I thought Al Horford was going to be a good glue guy, a good leader for the team. And we saw him be that just a couple years prior. Of course, he goes to Philly and his career, I guess, is ruined, as always. But, I mean, I would say I'm a little bit shocked, too. I would say, the coach is kind of the easy scapegoat in this situation. But I don't think that's what it is. I think that what it is just the team not meshing.
I
whether
definitely think they don't have depth at all. They rely on Tatum, Brown, Schroeder and Smart to carry the brunt of their scoring, and that just it can't happen if you want to be successful. That's why they're 5-6.
If I can think of one thing, I would have loved them to pick up Kyle Lowry. I want to see this exact team with some kind of game manager, like a Chris Paul, Kyle Lowry kind of guy. I think maybe that could do it for them for their like half court offense, not just be complete ISO. So maybe a game manager would help them out, but I'm stumped with that team.
I like that. Yeah, I think a good point guard.
On that team.
I think a better point guard. It doesn't even need to be a Damian Lillard. I really like the Kyle Lowry one. And I guess Marcus Smart is good. Would you say he's a game manager though?
No,
he's not.
No chance.
Yeah,
he's a shooting guard.
He's a shooting guard
who can bring the handle up, who can bring the ball up, and just slow the offense down.
Like they need some control, some composure.
Yeah, I like Lowry, and Damian Lillard obviously would be crazy, but
Smart's a great defender, though. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Honestly, a Josh Giddey. That kind of builds. No, I'm
rookie
saying
though.
Future Josh.
That's Giddey.
Rookie point guards don't really win. I mean, well, yeah, okay. You said future, but yeah. I mean,
that kind of builds. Just a game manager.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, this has been a great episode. We've got on a lot of talking points. It's been great. Probably have this up by tomorrow, Thursday the 11th. Happy Veterans Day to everyone. Thank you to all who served, of course. And just want to give a shout out to everyone who's listened. We've gotten a ton of feedback, and we recently, or should we tell them? Should we tell them about our latest endeavor? Potentially, we may have gained. It's not like final yet, but we've been in talks with a couple sponsors for the podcast. Especially, we just want to thank Anchor, who actually reached out to me, who said that you guys have been eligible for getting a sponsor, just like a 15-second clip within the episode. So if that ever happens, and if you're listening in the middle of this and something pops up, just thank you for listening that far in, whether it be Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. We should have a visual coming up soon on YouTube. We know we've been saying that for a long time.
Yeah,
But
studio in
again,
the works.
just yeah. But thank you. Just give us a follow at our socials. Me, Jad, and Dan doesn't have socials, but give us a follow on @betweenthelines.pod on Instagram. And again, thank you guys all for listening. This should be out on Thursday the 11th. And as for Nishant,
Dan.
J Money.
wish you guys a good night, good evening, wherever you guys are at. Peace.
Peace.